The best way to get better at programming is to practice. And in this example, we're going to look at how to combine different types of layouts using Java Swing in order to create a more realistic version of an application that you might actually create in Java. As always, these files are available for download using the link provided below in the description. We'll give you a couple seconds to download, then you can start on your own, or you can simply follow along with us. Alright, so let's get started. As you can see here, we have an example that's extending a JFrame just like we've done with many other examples in our past. We've created some class level variables. Notice we have multiple buttons, panels, labels, and a text area. In our constructor, we start to set up our new object, saying as title, size, etc. like we've done before. However, notice on line 29, we start to create a JPanel and we give it a flow layout. Once we've done that, we've created several buttons and added them to that top panel. This is going to be important later on because we're using a flow layout for a panel. Now we can't mix and match different types of layouts within one container, but we can have containers that have other containers that have other containers. And so we've created this JPanel container and we're going to apply that differently. So for that JPanel, we have the flow layout. On the bottom, we create another JPanel. In this case, it uses a grid layout. Once again, we've gone in and set that, and we set up some statuses, like you might often find. Often in an application, you'll find buttons across the top, and then some status information at the bottom. If we go a little bit further, we then have our J text area. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put that in the center. To do that, we're simply going to come over here and say this.set layouts. What are we going to create? We're going to create a new border layout. In here, I can set my H gap and my V gap, my horizontal and vertical gap. I'm just going to set this to be 10 and 10, as you see there. Now all that's left is adding our three main sections. We don't have to add all those buttons. They're already added to the panel. So once we add the panel, the button comes along with them. Likewise, we don't have to add our status and status 2 labels because they're added to the bottom panel. So once we add the bottom panel, we're good. So I'm going to come over here and say this.add. What am I adding? I'm going to add top, comma, and this is going to be at border layout.page start. And we saw this in our previous example when we worked with border layout. We then said this.add, and we'll do our center. This is going to be content. Now, this could have been another panel. It could have a lot of other information in it. We just kept it simple and made it just one big text area. Say comma, border layout, and we are going to use center. And then we're going to say this dot add. What are we adding? The bottom JPanel, and we're going to do border layout dot page end, like we see there. So we only had to write a few lines of code and we get to combine a whole bunch of information. What's nice is we could have another person who's all they're doing is the main menu in that top section. They do all that programming. And then we simply import that class into our project and we get to add it very easily, or by the bottom or some combination of that. If we come up here and run, we're going to see up at the top we have our different buttons: new, save, open, and close. And at the bottom with our grid layout, we have our two different status bars. So we specify how big things are and what it's doing. Those could of course change based upon any type of input we want to provide. Now we haven't applied any actions to this, so this is all very static. If I click on these buttons, nothing's going to happen. But this just gives you an idea. I can even click in the center section. And you can see that the text area is working just as you would expect it to. So this is just a real simple way that you're going to find more realistic type applications where they're breaking things up into different panels and sections to make it easier to build out your application. It does require a little bit of thought and process before you get started. However, by doing this, like I said, it makes it much, much easier, especially if you're working with a group of people. Hopefully you found this example helpful. If so, please give the video a like and consider subscribing so you can see more videos on how to get better at programming.